Deanna Spingola. I'm coming to you from the suburbs of Chicago. I really appreciate you joining me today on RBN, whose website is republicbroadcasting.org. To see the guest lineup and relevant links for this program, please visit Spingola.com. There you will see the names of every guest that I've had on in the last 3 years since I joined RBN, as well as links to their websites. Just visit my website and click on the radio schedule button. Please also visit SpingolaSpeaks.info, a site that one of our wonderful, very talented listeners created. During the program, email your questions or comments to comment@Spingola.com. Join others in the chat room by clicking on the chat room button on my website or by going to Spingola.chatango.com. We will take calls in the second hour when we open the phone lines at 800-313-9443. My guest today is Tony Pantalaresco. His website is augmentinforce.50webs.com. Tony, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I was just watching your video that's on your front page, Queen of Hungry formula. You are so funny. You're entertaining. You're informative. You're funny. I can understand why people love you and love what you do.
Well, basically, I try to show that, health, being healthy and how to make these things, because people get overwhelmed because they think they can't do these things. So I try to, give a light approach to it so that, you can do it. Anybody can make these things, and you got so many gurus out there that are trying to, build a pedestal so that you think you have to keep going to these guys or gals or whoever, or the medical associations or whatever. And really, it's all unnecessary. And, you can get caught up in the luster and the bluster, and there's really nothing there to, make that way, so that then you get overwhelmed thinking, I can't do this. And so when I do these things, I'm showing that, the common everyday person, no matter whatever walk of life you're in, no matter how poor or how rich you are, you can do these things. So, and that's why I do the way I do it.
Well, I think you do a grand job, and could you just go over this with us just a little bit, what you were talking about in Queen of Hungry, in the formula that you were making, and you were talking about GMO grains and why we should not be using them, and we're talking about corn, rice, and you also mentioned in that video that they will take some GM products and mix it with non-GMO products. And so this is going to make you really, really sick. And then you mixed up this formula that would help. So tell us about the grains and why we should avoid them.
Okay, in my December 2012 script, because I do a show on another network, I've been saying this for 15 years, that there is no such thing as organic. That's been the biggest joke going. There's a video on YouTube called Seeds of Death, and I encourage everybody to watch it because it will exemplify what I'm going to relate to everybody. When you plant a genetically modified seed in the ground, doesn't matter where you plant it. If you're a conventional farmer, if you're an organic farmer, you are now growing genetics, because it carries over with the wind, with the bees, with the birds, with the rodents. It changes and alters the bacterial structure of the soil. The integrity of the soil becomes now genetically engineered. They produce high levels of mycotoxic materials and high levels of estrogens that we normally would not be getting in these grains if they were the real deal. So when you're eating any grain in any form, whether it be a cereal, a cracker, a cookie, a cake, a bread, a pasta, a rice, a corn, whatever, you are eating GMO. So this is the danger of this stuff, and I'm not the only one that's saying this. We have the Canadian scientists that worked with the agricultural element with the genetics in Canada, and he has stated the exact same thing I have been saying for the longest time. The genetically modifications of our soil is causing a genetically modification of our gut. The bacteria in our gut is becoming genetically altered as well, and as a result, some people are actually producing or mass producing these genetic materials inside them. That's why people are having problems with candida and other fungal or bacterial infections going on in the body because her body is literally being rewritten on a genetic level. Majority of the diseases we're dealing with today are no longer the old standby bacterial, viral, or fungal issues that we have dealt back in the past. We are now dealing with high-level genetics and biopolymerized attacks on us from chemtrails and with the food supply that we're consuming today. The Queen of Hungary formula, this was a formula that was given to the Queen of Hungary back in the 14th century, 12th to 14th century, and she was literally dying of a what we would call AIDS or something like that today, or an HIV infection of today, because there isn't really no such thing as an AIDS infection. That basically is just an acronym meaning that you're sick, that they use as a scare tactic to the general public. You know, if you have the mumps, you have AIDS. If you have a common cold, you have AIDS, because basically all it means is you've acquired an immune deficiency of some kind. So that was a vernacular they used to create a fear tactic to the general public. There are diseases and things of this nature, but any disease can be construed as AIDS because that's what it is. You have acquired an immune deficiency. Anyway, she had some form of blood cancer, blood viral infection that was going on in her system. So her current herbalist of the day created this formulation that when she drank it daily and abstained from heavy meats and heavy pollutants, that within a year's period of time it completely renovated her completely, restored her DNA, restored her blood, restored her genetics, and basically she made her look 10 years younger, completely healed her. To the point that a king that was in another kingdom who was 10 years her younger just got wild by her and married her. So,
I guess we all better take some of that formula.
I say, hey, you're looking hot. Let's go. So,
oh, goodness.
Well, hey, it's a normal biological function. Men look at women who are looking very good and whatever, and they say, yes, let's go. And that's what happened there. It actually, because it had anti-aging properties as well, high levels of antioxidant properties, high levels of antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial, antimicrobial, antiparasitical properties. I mean, it was an all-out formula. And they hit her from all angles, and they made her change her blood. I mean, I gotta remember, majority of diseases back then, and even to this day, it has to do with poor hygiene practices, whether it be internal or external. And back then, the royalties of the day thought they were above, human nature or laws of nature, so they thought they could do whatever they wanted as well. So as a result, they got they would get nailed just like anybody else. And today, we have issues of gluttony and other things that also exacerbate our health issues. So again, that's one of the forms I put out there because I know a lot of people who have HIV or hepatitis of some form, and this will tremendously reverse those conditions.
Now, what is the first ingredient in that formula?
There really is no first ingredient. They're all pretty well the same. I mean, you've got in there basically. Well,
you poured a bottle of solution into the pot before you added the oregano and the other stuff.
I'm trying to think now. What did I do there?
Was it wine?
Wine and water.
Okay.
Yeah, because the wine is for the blood. It gets into the blood very quickly. And you got the high you got resveratrol contents in there, but you also got the polyphenol contents, which gets into the system very quickly, and it in of itself kills again bacterial and fungal issues on its own. And when you're adding that to these herbs to the mix, you are it's called a fuse. You're fusing this all together so that when it gets in the system, it's absorbed very rapidly.
Right. All righty. Tony, we are going to a quick 3-minute break. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Welcome back. This is Deanna. Our guest today is Tony Pantelleresco, and his website is augmentinforce.50webs.com. Tony, welcome back. What was I going to say? I just think your videos are terrific. They really are. And I was just shocked at the size of the cinnamon that you were breaking up to put in that solution.
That's real cinnamon.
Wherever did you get that big a piece? I mean, I've seen cinnamon bark. I order cinnamon bark from a company on the internet, but that was really big pieces of cinnamon.
Whereabouts do you live?
In the Chicago suburbs.
Okay, go to an Asian market, East Indian market, Asian market. That's where you get the real deal. I mean, if you want to get spices and things, that's where you have to really go. I mean, a lot. You know, I mean, if you want the real deal, you got to go to where the people of those cultures eat these foods. That's real cinnamon. If you break a piece of that, you can smell that cinnamon for it'll fill up a whole room. When you powder that up, the release is unbelievable. I mean, that's the real McCoy. A lot of stuff I get, I'll go to a Chinese herbal shop or a market or an East Indian market or a Mediterranean market or a Middle Eastern market. You know, I'm not opposed to going to these ethnically inclined areas because those people eat these foods. So those are the places that you're going to get the real stuff that's, you know, strong and it's got the potency and that's what you want. You know, the grocery store stuff, who knows what the heck you're getting there anymore. I mean, and you can tell the difference. I mean, it's still intact. It's the bark itself. You scrape off the outer. If you see anything on the outside, just scrape it off a little bit. Even when you're scraping, you can smell it. It'll release the oils and the resin.
Right. Yeah, I don't buy any of the spices at the grocery store. I mean, they've been sitting there probably for, I don't know, 10 years or something.
Well, the thing is, once they're powdered, they lose their potency, right?
Sure.
Thing intact until you're ready to use it, and when you're ready to use it, then when you break it down, then it's going to have what you're looking for. You know, it's going to have the strength you want, and it's going to be there for you.
Great. Now you also have a radio program, Tony, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I'm on the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. I'm on there every Saturday between 8 and 10 p.m. at night. Basically, I do shows on health, exposing a lot of different things from chemtrails to smart meters to, you know, fluoridated water, lithium in the water, things of this nature, and then showing people how they can counteract some of the effects of these things, what to do to subvert some of the attack that's being put on their bodies. And we talk about remedies, and sometimes people in the chat room will come in and ask questions about their health and discuss things that we can do there as well. You know, the whole thing is about showing people how to arm themselves so they're not running to a doctor or to a medical facility. You know, because usually when you go to those places these days, it's sort of common knowledge where I live anyway, that you go to a hospital, you go in, you don't come back out. So you don't, you know, the idea is to get healthy, but it doesn't always work. Usually it doesn't work there. So again, the point is to teach you how to assert yourself in a way where you can heal yourselves and how to do it and how easy it can be on so many different things, you know.
Sure. Now, when you and Dave are filming your video clips, you're in a room and the shelves behind you are just loaded with bottles and all kinds of boxes and things. Those are things that you use in the solutions that you create?
Sometimes they're just there because you know, got a future experiment I want to try or, you know, going to do. Sometimes there's things there that I show people how again they can make. You know, we're mad scientists down here. You know, we're terrorists. You know, we're trying to terrorize the diseases into extinction. So we're trying our way. You know, we're always looking at stuff to, you know.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. Another video that I watched of yours, you were talking about turpentine, except I call that spruce extract. It just sounds better. You know, we've all been indoctrinated to think of it as something that we remove paint with, but I really liked that video that you did of that. That was really good.
You know, we've had, if you looked at that video and you looked at the comments below, we had a lady send me a comment there about her mother had a skin issue where blood vessels were bleeding under the skin, and she can go in the doctor for years, not got any results, become completely disabilitated. She was bedridden, so forth and so on. So she started giving her the turpentine orally. Within 3 to 5 days, she was up and running. The issues had cleared up in her skin all by themselves. She was cleared up. She was doing housework again. It was like a miracle, she said. She said her mother was dying, literally, and it brought her back. So, and then I've got 3 links on my webpage on turpentine, the uses of it, remedies, recipes that they've used way back in the 1800s. So it's all there. It's for free. Anybody can go there and download any of my information off the page. It's there, so I tell people to access it.
Oh, super. Now, in your video, the one that's up there now with the Queen of Hungary formula, you talk about the gut issues, and so many people have gut problems. I know a lot of people have Crohn's disease, people who have chronic diarrhea, people who have all kinds of things wrong with their gut, and you explain why in this current video. But what are some of the things that you can do in addition to the solution that you're giving, the Hungry formula that you're giving? Do you also incorporate things like kefir and yogurt and other probiotics?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely. The number one thing is you got to get off the grains. If you don't get off the grains, nothing's going to work. Because as long as you keep putting in the GMO material inside the colon, you're just basically defeating the purpose. You got to let go of cereals. You've got to let go of bread. You've got to let go of corn, rice, every grain out there that you can imagine, and that includes your quinoas and your amaranths and all this other stuff. That's got to go. If you don't,
okay.
All that's got to go, because your gut, I'll tell you, I used the sodium thiosulphate solution on myself, and it stripped my colon down in layers and layers. Because what's happening, think of your colon as a tree. Okay, a tree has rings in it, right? So for every ring you see, it's a decade or whatever. Okay, that's your colon now with the GMOs and the soy that you've been consuming. You're putting a layer of paste inside with the soy, and this stuff is collecting and binding to the lining of the colon, so now you're not even absorbing your nutrients properly. As a result, you'll eat a meal, and then about 15, 20 minutes later you want to snack on something because you did not get the nutrients, because the areas of the colon that are required to absorb these things are being blocked up. Now, the moment you quit eating the grains, usually what I find with people in the course of the dietary protocols I give people, within 10 days they lose anywhere between 5 and 15 pounds of fecal mass. Because what's happened is you are no longer reloading the colon with the grains and the breads and so forth and so on. Any grain based food, and soy. I get them off that as well. I don't believe any soy has any value whatsoever other than for fertilizer. Anyway, that's the first thing they notice. They notice that their gut below their belt line flattens down all by itself without having to go spend extra money on gyms and supplements and other things. And all of a sudden, they just go flat. And
now you're talking about the John Wayne syndrome, right? I understand that when they did his autopsy, that they extracted 50 pounds of fecal matter.
Well, that's everybody today. That's everybody. If you're eating bread today, you're storing GMO. You're storing these grains. You are not breaking these grains down because anatomically they do not fit your genetics or your DNA. Okay, so
now, what did you take? What you said? You mentioned a formula that you took. Now, I've been off grains for 2 years, but I didn't recognize that quinoa and some of those other things
they'll collect on the colon as well, and you've got any residual there from any GMO or whatever, which you probably will have. It will use that as a material to mine.
Okay, so when we come back, let us know the formula that you made to get rid of this. We'll be right back in 3 minutes. Welcome back. This is Deanna. Our guest today is Tony Pantalleresco. His website is Augment in Force. That's AUGMENTINFORCE.50webs.com, and the 50 is the numeral. Alrighty, so if somebody's been eating grains and soy and all that poison stuff, and they quit, what do they do to clean themselves out? You mentioned a formula. What was that formula?
Go to Walmart, get a new colon, switch it, no more problem.
Oh, if it could only be that easy.
Basically, there's something a friend and colleague of mine out in the West Coast introduced me to something called sodium thiosulphate. And you take a teaspoon of this, 5 grams of this, and you take it before going to bed. You take it with ascorbic acid, same amount. You're mixing about 3 ounces. You drink it, and then you chase it with about another cup of water, 7 ounces of water. The stuff tastes horrid. I mean, it's probably one of the worst things you're going to put in your mouth. But anyway, you take it before going to bed on an empty stomach, and when you get up the next day, if you have the slightest inclination that you're going to pass wind, you run to the washroom, put a little toilet paper in the toilet bowl, set the seat down, park your backside, and let it out. It will come out so fast you won't know what hit you. You will see, for those with more gallons, you will see polymers, you will see fibers, you will see metals, you will see, because this will pull metal out. This is the best thing I've seen, better than even EDTA for pulling metals out. It will strip that colon to pieces, and if you do it for about 4 weeks, I assure you, your whole eating habits will change. You will actually have no appetite. When you do eat, you will stay full for about 10 to 15 hours, which is like you're supposed to be. You won't be snacking. Getting off the grain, you will be making some adjustments. I do tell people they can't have a potato because you can't take all the grains away. The sugar will be the big problem that you'll be dealing with, but you will find that this will make a huge impact on eating habits, eating changes, because of the way it strips the layers off the lining on the colon. People got so much crap in the colon and the colon's lined up so bad and so severe that again, they're not getting the nutrients, and once this stuff starts doing stuff, you'll see parasites. If you got a parasite, it'll come out. It'll be wiggling in the water or doing whatever. You'll be surprised how afterwards, when you do eat a meal, you're full, satisfied, satiated, depending on what you're eating, obviously, but it makes a tremendous impact. And a lot of the like I said, those who have been heavily contaminated with different metals like cadmium, aluminum, barium, whatever, it will make a big difference in pulling that out as well.
Where do you get this stuff?
Chemical store. Chemicalstore.com, you'll find it there. Just do some research on it. Yeah, chemicalstore.com is one place. Just go to any chemical supply place. A lot of things that we're dealing with today, as I mentioned earlier, we're not dealing with the status quo issues any longer. We are dealing with biopolymers, nanoparticles, GMOs, and this is the crux of the issues today. You know, it's not like they're spraying nanosilver on our crops today. We're getting nanoparticles falling down from us from the sky with the chemtrails. You know, we're eating GMOs, which are affecting the whole biomatrix of the human DNA. So we're constantly being attacked at our very core. So you got to get things that are going to go to the very core in stripping this stuff out. I always tell people to use iodine in regard to renewing their glands. If you do this process, you must daily renew minerals in your body. You must renew probiotics in your body, whether they be through foods such as cheese, yogurts, kefirs. Make sure they have fat in them. You're going to need fat to maintain your cellular integrity. Ricotta, sour cream, things of this nature, or any fermented vegetables. You must consume these things. There's a company called Nutribiotics. They sell an electrolyte mineral complex. It's one of the cleanest ones I've seen on the market. Doesn't have the vanadium or doesn't have the bad combination of calcium and iron mixed with it. It's a good one. There's another one called Utah Salt. It's another one. That's a very basic and rudimentary one. I'm not trying to plug anybody. These are the ones that I've seen work. But that you must put minerals back in. You must put bacterial culture back because it strips that thoroughly.
Okay. Wow. Well, so this is basically your biggest detoxifier is you first detoxify the colon, and then you put in good things like all the probiotic vegetables and all those things. And they should be, as you say, whole foods. If you're going to make kefir or yogurt, use whole raw milk if you can get it, right?
Unpasteurized milk. I hate using the term raw because that could be misconstrued. People think that raw honey is a good honey. They flash pasteurize the honey in the United States, because they can't label it unpasteurized anymore. But you can find an apiary where you get a farmer that will sell you the honey that hasn't been treated with anything. That's the honey you want to buy today. That's where I get mine directly from the farm. If you can get unpasteurized milk, by all means get it. That's the only milk you should be drinking. I lived on it. I lived on that, and I made my own mix with a raw egg in there and everything else. And I actually got lean muscle. I got big muscle-wise. I got huge on it without hardly doing anything. It's one of the best foods you can eat. If anybody was going to sell a superfood, raw milk or unpasteurized milk and eggs are the superfoods everybody should be consuming. The rest of the stuff that they're selling today, that they call superfoods, is just super baloney. The two components alone with a potato, you could literally live on that. And you have almost everything you need. You have your antioxidants, you have your probiotics, you have your proteins, you have your minerals, you have your vitamins, you have your enzymes. You cannot go wrong with that.
Right. And you apply that to the egg white also?
Everything, the whole thing. Egg white, yolk, the whole 9 yards goes in there.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I was looking at many of the programs that you've done previously, and one that December 2011 you were talking about people in America being so incredibly fat.
That's just not the United States. That's Canada too. Okay. I mean, America gets pretty well, blackballed on stuff. But when you talk America, you got to talk Canada as well. There's not that much difference. Both sides of the creek are getting blasted the same crap, eating the same. Well, we have a little bit of an advantage here still, not much, but it's and that's getting closer. I can still go to the grocery store here and buy, for instance, yogurt and cottage cheese and things with the fat still intact. Or in the United States, the states I've been to anyway, you go to the grocery store and everything is, light this and diet and fat free and sugar free on almost everything you're buying at the grocery store. And it's amazing to see that the grocery chains in the United States have no brain left. I mean, they truly are killing the people with the groceries over there. So part of the reason why America has gotten obesity issues is because they're not eating any fat that they should be getting. And I'm not talking omega-3, 6s, and 9s. I'm the bigger believer of saturated fat as the overall fat everybody should be using. Brain needs saturated fat. 20% of the frontal lobe is saturated fat. The fat around the heart that the heart uses is based on saturated fat. You need the cholesterol and the saturated fat to produce hormones and your testosterone and your progesterone levels. You need the saturated fat to sustain muscle and muscle energy. You need the saturated fat to maintain cellular integrity. And everyone's talking about using high levels of omega-3, which oxidizes very quickly in the body, which to me is an oxymoron. But this is the lunacy that's going on today. I rarely use an omega-3, to be quite honest with you. All I use is saturated fats. I get it from butter, coconut oil, ghee, whatever. And I don't have any issues. That's part of the problem with Americans. Another part of the problem is they're eating soy. Everything in the food supply has some form of soy in it. What's the first thing soy does? It shuts down the capacity of the pancreas to produce trypsin, which breaks down protein. So then you get this dead protein in the colon, which isn't breaking down because you don't have the trypsin going to it because the pancreas is being compromised and damaged. This is why so many Americans and Canadians have high levels of diabetes, because they've got a pancreas damage from the soy that they're consuming. How many women do you know have problems with their thyroid? They've got hypo or hyperthyroid because they're eating all this bloody soy. Yeah, this stuff is nothing but crap. That's all it is. It's just a fecal matter of the plant kingdom. It should only be used as fertilizer, not as a food source.
Right.
Yet they're putting it. Take a look at your foods over there sometimes. Just read your labels. Artificial flavor, natural flavor. This is soy, or could be aborted babies now, or it could be even animal dead waste matter. But it's usually soy. It's got TVP in it, HVP, AVP, HPP. These are all different names of soy. MSG. This is soy. Soybean oil, soybean broth. These are all soy. It's in almost a lot of foods. So you're eating this stuff. So right off the bat.
Wow. Okay, we need to be cleaning out our pantries, which I did a couple of years ago. Got rid of all the soy nonsense. Okay, we will be back in 3 minutes. Welcome back. This is Deanna. Our guest today is Tony Pantallaresco. And his website is AugmentInForce.com. www.50webs.com. What is your take on grass-fed meat? We have a lot of people who still like to eat the beef and pork and all these things.
Go for it. I'm ordering some. I'm ordering grass-fed sheep. That's the best way to go. You got to remember, we have in Canada. I was talking to a farmer where I'm getting my meat from my sheep from, and he was telling me that they were allowing at one point in time 12% cross-contamination of GMOs. Now they're allowing 100% because the fields are completely inundated with GMOs. So you're not going to get around it completely. So you have to learn how to neutralize a lot of the stuff you're eating today. Organic is a joke. It really is. Like I stated earlier, if you're planting any kind of GMO in the fields, organics are contaminated with it. So save your money on a lot of these organics. But if you can get grass-fed anything, grass-fed butter, grass-fed meat, and butter coming from grass-fed cows or from grass-fed sheep, any cheese, not go for it. Really go for it. I mean, it's going to be better. The animal will filter out some of the GMO stuff in there as well because you're getting from the meat. Avoid organ meats. I do not encourage anybody to eat any organ meats whatsoever because that's where the filtration process of the animal goes through anyway. Whether they were eating GMO or not, a lot of the parasites and things will be in those organs. So unless you know how to seriously neutralize those organs with these things, you're going to have problems. And again, if you're going to eat meat raw, pre-treated, do not just eat it raw. I saw a guy on YouTube. It was a complete asinine thing he was doing. Because he thought he was getting it from an organic field, that the cow that he was eating the meat raw from without doing anything to it was clean and safe, and nothing could have been further from the truth. And just because the cow's eating grass-fed anything doesn't mean there's not a parasite or something that they've consumed that didn't get trapped in the muscle tissue. And so again, not a good idea. You could wind up with worms in the brain and things of this nature if you don't cook your foods and meats properly. So I pressure cook my stuff. So, and again, and I show people how they can buy an old cow stunner and shock the meat. So if there is a parasite in there, it ain't happy.
Oh, well, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
okay.
Because that's what they do in the industry. But I mean, we've had so many meat recalls that you got to think that they're no longer doing this to some of the meats. So if you buy an old 5,000 volt or 10,000 volt or even one of these zappers, a million watt volt zapper, and zap your meat before you do it, if something's in there, it ain't happy.
Okay. So don't eat liver and hearts and all that kind of stuff. And we really shouldn't be eating anything that has a label on it. If it's got a label, you probably don't want to eat it.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, prepared foods. In a
box bag or I see what you're saying. Yeah. No, not a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. What about bone broth? Do you ever do that? Bone broth? Make bone broth to...
That's your gelatin. When I cook my meat in the pressure cooker, I put the bone and all in there. I put vinegar in there as well. It doesn't matter what vinegar you want to put in there. White, red, apple cider, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. The white vinegar actually kills the HIV protein. So people who are having to deal with HIV viruses, that's what you want to use is white vinegar. They'll tell you it's all these wonderful things about it, but it's not true. A lot of it's just baloney. But if you put it in there and you cook it for 2 hours in a pressure cooker, by the time it's done, the meat is so soft you can consume the meat. So now you're getting stem cells, you're getting phosphorus, you're getting calcium, you're getting the proteins in the thing, and it's completely edible. I mean, it's so soft you could literally snap it with 2 fingers.
Wow.
You can stick a fork through it. That's how soft it becomes. So yeah, definitely put them in a pressure cooker, add a little vinegar to them, and break them down. And like I said, it's the best calcium you're going to get. It's the calcium acetate. It's what you're making, and it absorbs so readily. It's more absorbable than any other form of calcium that you can take. Wow. Okay. So anybody that's got a problem with their bones or their tendons or anything that around their if they we have one gentleman that listens to our program from California that has bone on bone in his knee area, and so he should be consuming a lot of bone broth, correct? Yeah, and tell him to go get straight gelatin. Big gelatin. Okay. Gelatin and add something called comfrey root to it, or comfrey leaf tea. Make a jello out of that. You'll just see some changes with that very quickly. We had a guy listen to my program, had spine was literally coming undone, and they were going to put 2 pipes in his back to get him up. So I told him to make the same formula. It's an old 12th century formula. When I saw it, I fell out of my chair because this will renew somebody from the inside out. And what you do is you make comfrey leaf tea or root. I prefer the root. And then you add gelatin to it and you drink it. And this is one of the best rebuilders anybody could ever use. It works very quickly. Proline is a very high component of gelatin, and what it does, it can help with even tooth health, and bone density issues. So all this calcium that they're telling women to use, 2,000 IUs of calcium, it's completely insane. There's no way anybody can absorb that. So smaller doses of calcium if they want to add it, but that would repair a lot of that he's dealing with.
Okay. Now, I usually just do my bone broth in a big pot, and I probably simmer it for 10 to 12 hours and really break it all down. And then I puree it with, I throw in some, whatever I have, beets or carrots or onions and garlic, and grind it all up in a puree. Does that work?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's more than one way of doing things. You know, even when I do my videos, the first thing I tell people is this is not the only way. You know, when I present something to anybody on my YouTubes, right, I encourage people to make them better and then share the health. The idea is I'm just opening the door or window so you can see that there's methods out there that you can find, you know, and I'm just showing you one method, not the only method.
Okay.
Finding a solution. Say your idea is good. I like a pressure cooker because I find it penetrates more. I'm going to get more out of it, so that's why I go that route.
Okay.
You know what I mean, it's just another method. You know, it's so your method is just as good and just as viable as mine. If it's working for you, then use it.
Okay. What would you do if you had, say, for instance, neuropathy, maybe associated with diabetes or something? How would you treat neuropathy? I have a friend that has some problems.
That's an easy one. MSM, 1,000 milligrams, benfotiamine, 100 milligrams, and serapeptase. You do that 4 or 5 times a day and start using wheat germ oil in conjunction with that. You should see the neuropathy go away. The big key, again, is no grains. Okay, the sugar and the grains, that's got to go. As long as they keep eating the grains, it doesn't work. What happens is there's a glycation effect going on between the proteins and the sugars in the body. What MSM and benfotiamine do is they separate the proteins and the sugars from each other. And what the serapeptase does is it acts as a carrier and also helps break down the dead cells and gets it out of the body. I've given that to people over the years. Tell you a true story. I had a guy who had that, and I gave him that same formula. He had it for 15 years. Called me up after 11 days being on this and said that was the first time in 15 years able to feel his fingers and his toes.
Wow.
So, yeah, it works very effectively. So again, but no grains, no soy. Leave that for fertilizer. Seriously, you know, don't eat that stuff. It's just not worth it.
Okay. There's a house across the street that just came on the market. Would you be interested in moving across the street from me? It's a really nice neighborhood.
You know how many invitations I have gotten?
I'm sure you've gotten thousands of invitations. Amazing. I'm sure that everybody that's listened to your videos or watched your videos would love to have you as a neighbor. Oh, my goodness. What a resource to have. What about some of these ridiculous tests that the allopathic doctors would like you to take? For instance, colonoscopies, which are very invasive and I think really dangerous, and other kinds of tests. And they do these tests so that they can find something to treat. And they never cure anything. They just want to treat it. We are coming up on our top of the hour break. And so we will be back at 6 minutes after the hour, and we will take your phone calls at 800-313-9443. Be right back.
tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Is Tony Pantelleresco. His website is augmentinforce.50webs.com, and there we do have a chat room, and people have asked some questions. But first, could you answer the what we were talking about just before we went to the break, like the medical tests that doctors want you to take? I mean, if people actually go to the doctor, they want you to do colonoscopies, they want you to do mammograms, they want you to do all these things. But isn't that defining something that they can treat?
Well, mammograms, no women should do a mammogram. Never. Ever do a mammogram. That is insanity to the nth degree. I mean, having 5,000 million zillion pounds smashing on your breast and then busting those blood vessels and then irradiating them with radiation has got to be the bloodiest dumb thing I've ever heard in my life. If you need to have that done, go get a thermography. That's the safer alternative. Or do your own hand test. You don't need to have a mammogram done. Most mammograms cause the breast cancers. So don't ever get that done. That is unbelievably, beyond belief stupid. That was just done on purpose so they could get genetic material from women by removing their breast. So don't ever do that. That is beyond belief, like I said, nothing but termination of your breasts if you do this.
Right.
That's just no way. There are some tests that should be done or could be done by the medical field, but this is the thing. Majority of people that get these tests done then get bamboozled with BS on a drug or some kind of something that they're going to need to have done, or else, oh, this sounds serious. Oh, this is, and we need to, and you better, and you get into this kind of baloney. Once you find out what's going on, okay, you get a clear picture of a test. I mean, I don't agree with colonoscopies either, but blood tests, blood work can give you an indication what may be going on. But even when you get this, doesn't mean it's accurate either. I had a guy today tell me that he had a blood test done. They told him his potassium levels were high. They had another blood test, and they were perfectly okay. So, it depends on the quack job that's doing the test. So, again, the medical field today, if you can find a physician, not a doctor, but a physician, one who's seeking to do you good and to help you heal, then that's the people you want to go to. A lot of these doctors today couldn't tie their shoe with Velcro, and I'm not kidding you. All they know how to do, majority of them today, is follow orders. They have no conscience and prescribe drugs. So when you're looking at what's going on today, if you go get checked up and you get some negative response, expect that. If you do get a negative response, then start researching for yourself what the condition actually is, because sometimes you'll hear a name that's got about 99 syllables long, and you think, oh my gosh, this has got to be and then you look at it, and that's all it is a hangnail, but they use some vernacular that makes something, that it isn't.
Exactly.
So don't get caught up on the baloney of the BS, because that's what it is. They have been given orders to sell drugs to you. They've been given orders to do so many surgical procedures because they got to make money and bleed your insurance down. And 99% of the time, a majority of these surgeries are unnecessary, and 99% of the time, the drugs are unnecessary. How many people are taking cholesterol medication when they don't need to? They're giving them rat poison, for crying out loud. So
exactly.
You don't need to do rat poison. I mean, rat poisons for kill rats. Are they equating you to a rat? I mean, this is something you have to think of.
Right.
Are they looking at you as, you're just a rat and we're going to kill you off? I mean, you don't need it. I've given people garlic. I've given people serapeptase. I've given people cayenne. I've given people, onion juice. The one remedy we got there with the onion, grapefruit, and ginger. That if anybody's got a a cholesterol issue, which really this is another myth. There is no such thing as HDL and LDL cholesterol. It's just cholesterol. Okay, the studies that were done in 1939, there's guys that were doing the studies said there is no such thing as HDL, LDL, and all this other nonsense. Okay, basically it's fat, and that's what it is. And basically it's either oxidized as a result of eating sugar. And where the sugar was coming from? They were saying it was coming from grains. So the biggest problem is if you've got a cholesterol issue, get off the grains and watch it go back to normal.
Right. All right, questions from the chat room. What does Tony think of using DE for cleaning out the colon? I don't know what DE is.
Diatomaceous earth. It's a diatomaceous earth.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of using any clays. I would rather use pectin. But if I was going to use any clay, that would be the only one. I don't believe in using the bentonites. A lot of them have aluminum and lead in them. So I'm not a fan of bentonites at all. But diatomaceous earth, again, I would use it, but again, I wouldn't make it a rule of thumb either, because there have been some people that I've dealt with who've used these clays and they wind up congesting in the colon. I find the STS far better as a colon stripper. If you've got a poison in the colon, charcoal and diatomaceous earth would probably be the way to go to pull it out.
Okay. Let's see. What do you eat? They want to know what you eat.
Fat.
Fat, okay.
I eat
that
fats.
sounds good.
I eat animal proteins. I eat eggs. I eat lamb. I eat poultry. I eat duck. I eat goose. I juice my greens. I extract the greens. I'm not a big grass eater. These vegetarians are always giving people heck for eating meats, but I tell people I'm a vegetarian because my cow eats the grass and I eat the cow, so I'm getting that way.
Perfect.
And again, it's how you prepare it. I eat a lot of fruit. That I do eat. I do eat a lot of fruit. I'm not a big veggie guy. Never was. They have their place. I'm not knocking vegetables, but I do. I drink them. I don't want the fiber. I don't want them to pull the minerals out. The fact that the vegetables today are so low in mineral and nutritional content that the best way to get it out is either through fermentation or juicing. So I do it that way. The cheapest green product you'll ever buy are parsley, dandelion, and watercress. Extracting that yourself, you'll get everything that you'll ever need out of a green product. And instead of spending $25 to $50 for those expensive dried green products, this will do the exact same thing.
Now, when you talk about a dried green product, would that include chlorella?
Yeah, for sure. You don't need these chlorellas and spirulinas. This is again. Look, you got parsley, dandelion, and watercress. If anybody ever actually looked at the antioxidant properties that these things have, the enzyme properties, parsley is equivalent to prednisone as an anti-inflammatory. You've got the chlorophyll in these things, which again will renew the blood. You've got the apigenin and the luteolin in them that will actually remove the excess estrogens that you're being exposed to. You got almost every mineral known to man in these things. You've got iodine and watercress. You cannot go wrong. What does watercress cost you? About 50 cents. What does parsley cost you? About 50 cents. What does dandelion cost you? About $1.50. So for about $4, you've got a super duper green product that you can make right at home. And I show you how to make it on the YouTube as well.
Okay. Super. Now, another question. Could the guest repeat that formula that they are looking for at the chemicalstore.com?
Sodium thiosulphate.
Okay.
ThiolSulphate. You got a crystal form and you've got a powdered form. I used the crystal. That's what I used.
Okay. Use the crystal form. All righty. We are coming up on a break, and I know that there are people who have questions, callers who have questions. You may call in at 800-313-9443. We will be back in 3 minutes. Welcome back. Is this Deanna? source.50webs.com. And we do have some callers lining up. Why don't we take a phone call? Let's take Fred in Michigan. Fred, welcome.
Sure. I wanted to ask a couple questions. I had been a fan of using sodium bicarb whenever I would prepare my vegetarian porridge because it would expedite the cooking process, although I would do it minimally. And then I started developing some weird reactions, physiologically speaking. So I experimentally cut out the use of sodium bicarb, and those weird physiologic reactions ceased. And I was wondering, I joined, just as you mentioned, sodium thiosulphate, and I'm curious if that substance would possibly function as I thought perhaps potassium bicarb would function as a substitute for sodium bicarb as a cooking agent.
No. No. You have no idea what that stuff will do. Look, this stuff will, okay, if you're using oatmeal or whatever in the morning, I would tell you to get rid of that right off the bat because of the GMOs in your oatmeal. I mean, I would tell you to use pectin from either the white part of the citrus, peel off a grapefruit or an orange, and then save the white part, use that, mush that down with an apple. That will pull out metal, radioactive material, and all kinds of stuff from you. Sodium thiosulphate, no, take that on its own. Until you play with it, honestly, do not go screwing around, experimenting until you really fully get intimate with this, because you will find this will start. If you've got Popeye the Sailor Man up there, he's coming out. That's for your sway. Okay, it's that potent of a stripper. So don't mix that with anything other than vitamin C, so that you will increase your glutathione levels with that.
All right. Speaking of glutathione, I had been doing some due diligence and read that nutritional yeast. There's a company called KAL, and they have a nutritional yeast that tastes like, I don't know, to my taste buds, a nice cheddar cheese, which I don't use anymore. No bovine cow dairy. And that's supposed to be loaded with glutathione. Also, my other...
sulfur content, it will. If it doesn't, I would question it. Go ahead.
Okay, the other thing that I've been a real big fan of is a company called Nutrex out of Kona, Hawaii, Hawaiian Pacifica spirulina, which they produce, they tell me, in special protected lagoons using 95% fresh water from the island and 5% deep water, that's 2,000 plus foot depth ocean water, only 5%. So I was curious what you knew about Hawaiian Pacifica spirulina.
That's been the big theme. That's where it's coming from. It's supposed to be clean and pristine. Like I said, I think they're a waste of money, to be quite honest with you. I mean, the protein content there is not that absorbable. The B12 in it is almost negligible. There's hardly anything in it. You know, and they make those claims. Again, it's another one of those hyped up, souped up, whatever products that really never lived up to its hype. If you want to buy it, feel free to do so and explore it. But I mean, to be quite honest with you, if you're looking for a protein source, in regard, if that's what you're using it for, again, I don't know. Again, you should be eating some kind of egg or some kind of cottage cheese or something, because a complete vegan lifestyle, in my humble opinion, has got to be the most insane life to have. If you've got issues with the colon and the digestive issues, and you try using the sodium thiosulphate to strip that out, and you may find that you'll be able to digest things more properly again, because if the colon is layered and if the probiotic activity in the colon has been imbalanced because of genetically modified organisms or genetically engineered foods, doesn't matter what you consume or what you take, you will never correct it.
I've been organic for 25 years, and I'm about to utilize as I say, hog wild. I may go hog wild because a friend of mine is raising, a really organic hogs, and I brought up that old commercial about the other white meat, and he said, well, real live organic hog meat, free range and all that, is an actual red meat. And so I was thinking seriously of using that as my predominant protein source, whereas previously it had been canned salmon from Alaska. So what do you think about hog meat?
Well, pork has got high levels of sugar in it, so be aware of that. You'll have to neutralize the sugar content. I'm not a big believer eating pork either. There is no such thing as organic meat. That's impossible. The word organic means carbon-based. So if anybody's telling you you're getting organic meat, they're FOS, in the most polite way I can say it. There is no such thing. Organic means carbon-based. In other words, if it's not from a plant-based food, then it's not organic. Genetically modified foods are organic. Okay, the difference between the terminology that you've come to accept and what really is the word organic means plant-based or carbon-based grown foods. Organics, the GMOs basically are organic, except they've just been modified genetically. That's the only difference. You can pee, poo, spray a plant. It doesn't change the fact that it's organic. It's still organic. It's just that it's polluted. So again, I mean, the real white meat is your lamb, if you really want to be technical about it, and your poultry meats. Those are your white meats. I believe pork is as well. It's considered a white meat as well, but it's got a lot of sugar in it. And again, I don't advocate using it as a meat source. Some people will eat it, and I won't tell you what to eat, but if you're asking my opinion, you're better off not going near it.
Okay, well, I'm very cognizant of the verbiage, and organic in my vernacular means Monsanto, Dow, DuPont, chemical free, and that's what this guy is tuned into. And I agree, organic, carbon based, and all of that. And intimately Smith. So I'll keep you posted. I'll let you know. I use Hawaiian spirulina only because 25 years ago when I first started into this, I discovered that when I added that to my organic popcorn with avocado oil and real sea salt and my favorite spices like curry, paprika, etc., that the addition of the Hawaiian spirulina would enable me to go almost the whole day on a nice batch of organic popcorn. And I did that. I couldn't believe how astonishingly energizing and long burning it was. It just totally amazed me. So I'll let other callers. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Okay, let's take Shirley in North Carolina. Shirley, welcome to the program.
I wanted to know what your recommendations would be for a diagnosis of fibromyalgia.
Fibromyalgia? Wow. Did you go to Walmart and pick this up or what?
No, my husband had, first of all, Lyme disease back in 1990, and it went into his neurological system. He did not get it treated, and that's a long story, but I believe that it turned... They say what I'm believing it is that it might have turned into fibromyalgia. I don't know. We've been bamboozled by doctors for so long. Who knows?
Okay, basically, I'll give you the same formula I'll give to somebody with diabetic neuropathy for that. Lay off all the grains, number one. And it has to change.
Okay, we'll pick this up on the other side, so stay on with us, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Deanna. Our guest today is Tony Pantelleresco. His website is augmentinforce.50webs.com, and we had Shirley from North Carolina, and you were just telling her to first of all get off the grains.
The number one, the grains, the fibromyalgia issues for most people with fibromyalgia that I have found anyway, as a result of the leaky gut or the colon leaking the toxins from the genetics into the system. So it causes this issue to occur. So you got to get rid of the grains and you got to heal the colon, number one. So there's where your probiotics come in. This is where your MSM comes in. This is where your colostrum comes in. These are the glutamine, cottage cheese. These are things that will come in to help repair and regenerate that and allow you for better uptake and utilization of what you're eating. Number 2, you got to break down the damage that's been occurred in the areas of the body. So this is where the serrapeptase, B1, and the MSM come in. That formula has helped I don't know how many people with this condition, and a lot of them have recovered from it. So again, when we're dealing with these kind of things, you got to go to the root cause. The lime may have compromised his immune system, but I would think more than anything else is what you were consuming and the food you were putting inside of you that was causing. You got to remember, everyone has to start thinking that what's going on today is, again, biogenetic attack on you. And you got to start thinking in terms of genetic attack. You're eating GMOs. You have no idea what you're eating today. Okay, the United States does not label their food. There's labeling things going on to get labeling put on the food. That's not going to make the food safer. All that's going to do is make you more aware that 99.9% of what you're eating has got GMO in it. And that's all that's going to do. I was down in New Zealand where they had their foods labeled with genetically modified labeling. But it didn't mean it was safer. It just meant that they knew what they were buying. And they were still selling the GMOs in their markets. So you have to wake up on that reality that where you're being compromised and where you're being hit with. I mean, you got to remember, the moment you were born, you were injected with genetic material. This is where they started genetically engineering human beings with vaccines. So when you start looking at the whole scheme of things in the last 50 years and how we've been evolving to the state where we're at today and the poisons that we have today, you just didn't get sick overnight. And you've been eating a lot of genetically engineered foods or hybrid foods for quite some time, and sooner or later something lets go. And usually between the ages of 40 and 50 is where it starts.
Okay, Shirley, thank you for your phone call. Let's take Kathleen in Texas. Kathleen, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Tony. I have a couple of 4 questions. One is the after 50 in the website. Is it 50 Web, W-E-B-B-S, or West?
W-E-B-S, Webs.
Oh, W-E-B-S?
Yes, there you go.
Okay, W-E-B-S, thank you. And then what is the safest source of gelatin that you suggest?
They're all pretty safe. It doesn't matter whether it be bovine, porcine, pig gelatin, cow gelatin, fish gelatin, chicken. It's all the same. It's probably one of the cleanest foods you'll ever buy. By the time it's processed down and cooked down, there's nothing left but the proteins and the aminos. The ratios are quite high. It's probably one of the cheapest sources of protein that you can buy. It also will store for about 100 years, so it's a great survival food if you need to buy anything for survival, for long-term survival. If you add it to an egg protein, it increases the biological value of egg protein from 93 to 99. So it increases the utilization of proteins that you're using in your body. Whey protein's at 92 in the biological value. So again, unless they add peptides to it. So again, it's anywhere. Get it wherever you can afford it.
So it doesn't matter. You don't have to get some grass-fed.
Well, I mean, it's preferred, but you got to remember, like I said, your GMOs are in the grasses too. So I mean, the cows are going to break that down on some level. You got to remember, they got 2 stomachs. So
right.
They will filter out a lot of the stuff that they're eating. So I don't think it's really going to matter. You have to understand, I mean, they're feeding them GMO grains as well. I mean, they have to give them some on some level. So, I mean, you're not going to get around it, okay? So it doesn't matter what perceptions that you're trying to think in terms of safety, you are going to get exposed. So,
okay.
Again, use
so
it.
Just a regular, any kind of gelatin would be all right.
Yeah, I think there's a company in the U.S. called, I think, Land O'Lakes.
Oh, yeah.
If you got any bulk stores, a lot of bulk stores will carry it as well. Or go online and do a search for a place where you can buy it relatively cheap.
Great, and then thank you. And then the other question is for Lyme. Well, I'll just tell you them all. Lyme's disease, MS, and could you repeat the formula for the Queen of Hungary formula?
Okay, go on my YouTube.
I'm sorry, I don't have a computer and I don't do that. I listen by phone.
Okay, I don't have the ingredient list in front of me because I have it on the YouTube. Now all you got to do is scroll down and it's all there. Basically, you're going to have in there your rosemary, sage, thyme, savory, oregano, turmeric, cinnamon bark, clove. There's one more in there.
I heard the wine.
Wine and water equal parts. So you get a 750 ml bottle or 24-ounce bottle of wine, 24 ounces of distilled water. Put them in either a slow cooker or a pressure cooker, either way, and put the ingredients at equal portions. Oh, and garlic. That's the last ingredient. So you're going to need, again, rosemary, equal parts to sage, equal parts to peppermint, equal parts to oregano, equal parts to savory, equal parts, I think, to bay leaf, cinnamon bark of equal weight, clove, 1 or 2 tablespoons.
And you cook this?
You cook this, oh yeah.
Kathleen, you could always go to your local library and watch this video. It's 18 minutes long. Just make a note of what he's...
I haven't left the house for 2 years because I hurt my back 2 years ago. So the Eucharistic ministers come, and I trust God not to kill me with the Eucharist made of wheat. So, anyway, so the Lyme disease and MS, and thank you both very much.
Well, thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. All righty, let's take Janice in California. Janice, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Hi, I just barely started listening, so I didn't catch the whole program, Tony. I wanted to know if brown rice is also included in your do not eat list.
Yep, gone.
Any grains? Nothing.
0.
Okay, nope. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you repeat yourself, but also...
I understand. No, I understand your concept. Everyone is trying to find a way to get into eating the grain, and I'm glad you brought this up because I want to make a point of this. This is how addicted you are. You don't realize that you've been addicted to these foods. And as a result, when someone tells you can't have this, you're looking immediately for an alternative in another form of grain. And you have to understand the reality here of the genetically engineering of these foods. None of them are safe. 0, 0, 0. So when you're looking at this, there is no alternative to these things, and because of the nature and how they damage your system. So again, you want to heal it, you got to eliminate adding to what's already been compromised. Okay, it's an old theme. In order to heal something, you've got to stop poisoning the body. And these genetics are doing exactly that. They're causing us to prematurely age. They're causing us to prematurely break down. They're causing our internal organs to prematurely wear out faster. And then in the end, they stimulate either a cancer or a viral overload or a parasitical overload in the body as a result of these exposed foods. So you need to leave them alone.
Okay. Also, you did mention something about a colon cleanse. Is there a recipe for that on your website? And if there is, can I get that?
All you need is 2 pieces. Get 2 pieces of apple, peel off your apples, chop them up, put them in a blender. Get 1 whole onion, and peel off an orange or a grapefruit, and take the white part, throw it in there, add a little water, turn that into a mush. That's the best colon cleanse money is going to buy. That will pull out radioactive material. That will pull out metals. That will strip whatever's going on. The only thing that would be, I think, more superior than that would be either the sodium thiosulphate or charcoal.
Okay, but I could get that on your website.
It's on the YouTube. You can go and look it up on the YouTube. It's there, and I show you how to make it.
Okay, I'll do that. All right, okay. Tony. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Janice. All right, you said apple, onion, an orange, and what else?
Apple, onion, and you peel the outer part of the orange. Okay. Save that white part. The white part's what you need. That's where you're.
The piss. Okay.
Throw that in there. Add your water, distilled water to it. Mush it up to a mush and consume it. Use about 2 or 3 ounces, and then drink lots of water with it, and you'll see what comes out.
Okay. We'll be right back in 3 minutes. His website is augmentinforce.50webs.com. And you were talking about gluten with the last caller. Another question from the chat room is, are grains the only source for gluten, and is all gluten bad?
Bad at all. That's another one of those misnomers. What's happened is there was a couple of studies done on the grains. What wound up happening was they found that the proline levels and the glutamate levels were off the chart. They were completely imbalanced. And that's why so many people are having problems with them. But the thing is, they've got mycotoxicity now in estrogens that they never had before. So none of the grains will work with you anymore. They will actually grow inside of you. I've got a chart that I show people in one of the videos. You'll see, I think it was in the Queen of Hungry form.
Yeah, it is. It's in that one. It's amazing.
When you look at that, you'll see that the grain and the genetics actually grow in the stomach and in the intestinal lining. Okay, when you look at the biowarfare, what I call biowarfare on the human race, the first two things that they've hit us with is they've attacked your digestive system. Your bacteria in your culture regulates brain functionality. If you change the bacterial balance in the colon, you wind up with brain dysfunctions because you cannot either produce or manufacture or break down B1, B12, folic acid, choline, or inositol that the brain requires to maintain and sustain balance. Okay, you can't remember anything. Your thoughts are not there. They're always escaping you because the colon has now been attacked. Okay, the second place that they hit you is in the pancreas area, where they are shutting down your pancreas, and this is what soy does. It attacks the thyroid, which regulates heart regulation and brain functionality. Again, and then the soy literally eats up the area of the pancreas where it releases the trypsin and causes the Langerhans to become self-destructive. It literally eats the colon, the pancreas alive. So all this nonsense about how countries overseas are eating fermented soy, it's all garbage. It's all baloney. If soy was such a wonderful food, why are the Chinese and the Japanese and the Koreans ordering so much red meat from the United States and Canada? Okay, because it's not enough. People that eat soy over there are those who are too poor to buy meat. Just like in the United States, the people that buy Spam and hot dogs can't afford the more expensive meats, so eat the more inferior meats. The organ meats have been compacted into these type of food products. So when you're looking at this whole study, and I got a study, I call it Third Symposium of Soy. It's been on that page for over 20 years. If you really want to know how great, wonderful soy is and how they manufacture soy, then you'll understand why I tell people not to eat this stuff, because it's not even made properly. When the Chinese first fermented soy, they did it in lime, not aluminum. So you're absorbing aluminum from this crap as well. So it's not, the only thing that's fit for is for the field. So nobody should be eating it. So you're attacking, you're destroying your digestive system, and that's where your immune system stems from as well. That's where your whole balance of your body is regulated, so you can absorb protein, regulate the carbs, regulate your fats. Everything is there. So if I attack that, I wipe you out. The Hessian fly consumes, if it bites into a genetically modified corn, its digestive system is exactly like ours. It literally causes their colon to explode. Well, what do we have today? We've got more intestinal disorders than we've ever had. And what's literally happening? The lining is literally coming undone. Now, you can regrow a colon using probiotics. You can regrow. They've done studies where you just using yogurt can regrow a new colon, just like sage and milk thistle and artichoke can also help grow a new liver. So again, you can repair this damage. Okay, using cottage cheese also helps restoring the colon. It also restores the esophageal lining. This is another place where the soy destroys your digestive system. So because of the glutamine content to it. So you have ways of repairing the damage, but you must eliminate it first out of your system. And once you start eliminating it, when you get off all grains, I will tell you what will happen. By day 3, you will be climbing the wall because you'll be going through some heavy-duty withdrawal. By day 5, you'll be as calm as a cucumber because you'll have subsided. I give people a protocol for this stuff, and I tell everybody you're going to bomb on it. I designed it, and I bombed on it 4 times before I finally got off it completely. It took 6 months of psychological dealing with it psychologically after I got off the grain. So I haven't touched it in 5 years, and I'm Mediterranean. So if anybody's going to eat grain, it's going to be me. When we're born, we come out with a slice of bread in our hand. That's how much grain.
With garlic on it, right?
Garlic on it. There you go. So I haven't touched it. So and I understand culturally. You've got Asians who eat rice. You've got Hispanic people that eat rice. You've got Mediterraneans that eat wheat. You've got the Europeans that eat barley, and you've got northern parts of Russia and stuff that eat sorghum and rye. These are the foods that they've contaminated with genetics, and again, you need to avoid them.
Okay. And that means rice noodles and all the stuff that they create to, I've seen pasta that has been made with other things. Just forget eating pasta.
Right. Pasta's gone. It's not even in the vocabulary at that point. And the biggest problems I have dealing with people on this are either Italians or Lebanese people. Because the diet is highly with wheat, right? And again, it's a psychological thing. It's a cultural thing. We're Italian, we eat bread. We're Lebanese, it has nothing to do with culture anymore. We got to get over these stigmas and these traditional thoughts that have been put there to continue keep you in a state of stupor. You got to realize that these foods have been biologically altered.
Right. What are your views on MMS?
I think it's good. I think it's something that it's another means to help you fight and win. Use MMS. Don't mix it with anything. It's powerful enough on its own. I'm a bigger fan of Lugol's iodine, but MMS is a good product. I think it would be an effective tool in today's war against the Morgellons and other things that we're being hit with in a biological warfare. I use turpentine as well, and again, it's right up there with that MMS. So, if you get turpentine in you, iodine in you, or MMS and turpentine will conflict with each other, so you might want to take them at different times. But again, use them. I don't see a problem with them. They are going to be an effective means to keep you healthy.
Okay. You mentioned glutamine, and colostrum to rebuild the colon.
Glutamine, MSM, gelatin, yogurt, kefir, these will all help in repairing and rebuilding the colon,
Okay. All righty. We have one last caller, Werner from New Brunswick. Questions?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Diane. Sorry for having called in, but my voice is not quite up to snuff. But your guest, he mentioned there about gluten. I remember there about 20 or 50 years ago, over in the old countries, the government started penalizing us when our wheat we were producing didn't have enough gluten in. The bakers, they wanted big loaves of bread, all puffy.
Okay.
And what I understand now, most of the milling wheat, it has at least a 50% increase in gluten content.
Okay, Tony, why don't you address that?
Okay, like I said, because of the genetics, it's an imbalance. The gluten, you got to remember, back in his time, the ground did not have GMO anything. Okay, the soils might have been depleted with minerals or other components in them that may have would have regulated the yield from year to year, being up or down depending on what they put in the soil. Today, like I said, we're not eating those grains. We are not eating what they ate back then. Okay, it's changed. Even the bacterial. Okay, when you put a GMO seed in the ground, you are changing the bacterial structure and integrity of the dirt. That same bacteria that's in the dirt is inside of you. Okay, you're connected to the earth. Okay, we resonate at 7.83 megahertz in the planet, so does the planet. So when you alter the genetic or the bacteria.
I'm sorry we've run out of time. Tony, you've been a fabulous guest. I hope we can do this again.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, listeners. Talk with you tomorrow.